The 1994 World Cup final was fiercely contested in Pasadena, California. A sold-out Rose Bowl watched as Brazil and Italy tied 0-0 in regulation before a Roberto Baggio penalty miss saw Brazil crowned champions. But which of their players featured on Football Manager 2005? Let's find out. First up, we have Deportivo's Mauro Silva. He joined the La Liga side in 1992 and went on to play over 350 games with the club. During the best era in the team's history, he collected 6 winners' medals, including a La Liga title in 2000. In December 2016, he was voted by the fans as the greatest player in the club's history. Before that, though, in 1994 he played the entire 120 minutes in the final, winning the greatest prize in sport. Another player who played over 100 minutes in the final, Zinho. Unusually, he's a player who never played in Europe, with his career being spent in the Americas and Asia. In 04-05 he's with Flamengo. His most successful spell in his homeland was probably with Palmeiras though, who he won multiple league titles and a Copa Libertadores. The 1994 World Cup Golden Ball winner, Romario. He'd score in 5 matches in the competition, including goals in the quarters and semi-finals. 10 years later, at the age of 37, he's with Vasco da Gama in his homeland. Despite his advancing years, he'd actually scored 30 goals this season in 43 matches. Later that year, he'd play his final international, scoring in a 3-0 victory against Guatemala. After Jorginho's injury, Cafu was subbed into the final in the 21st minute. After this, he cemented himself as Brazil's first-choice right-back, amassing over 150 appearances, including 3 in World Cup finals. In 04-05, he had one of his best seasons with AC Milan, narrowly missing out on a Champions League medal against Liverpool. Another who was subbed into the final, Viola. Interestingly, he only played 8 matches with the Brazil national team, all coming between 1993 and 1995. Around this time, his club career reached its peak, as he scored 49 goals with Corinthians. After playing for Parreira, he became somewhat of a journeyman, playing for 6 more teams in the final stages of his career. It seems incredible to think now, but Ronaldo was actually an unused substitute in the 1994 World Cup final. Back then, he'd just completed his first professional season with Cruzeiro, scoring 34 goals in 34 league matches. This form led him to join PSV Eindhoven shortly after the tournament. 10 years later, he's with Real Madrid, and after a number of unfortunate injuries, he's slightly diminished, but still a formidable player. Carlos Alberto Parreira coached Brazil's victory in 1994. 10 years later, he was back in the dugout for their upcoming tournament. In the 2006 edition, he'd only make it to the quarter-finals before a Thierry Henry goal eliminated the South Americans. His final managerial game came for South Africa in 2010. Brazil's victory in 1994 began a period of dominance for their national team, but since then things haven't been so straightforward. It's now been over 20 years since their last victory in Japan. They'll be hoping a new generation can finally get their hands on that trophy again.